Hello, everybody. Good morning. My name is Rich Zabel, and I'm the Deputy United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Today, we are once again bringing priceless artifacts back to the country to which they belong. We are returning to the National Library of Sweden two antique books which were printed in the 1600s. The first, a famous work on the history of optics by Christopher Scheiner, and an important work, the second one, concerning stagecraft and theater machinery by Niccolo Sabatini. In the Scheiner book, the author demonstrated for the first time that the retina is the actual organ of sight and explained that the pupil changes known as accommodation helped human beings see. He also devised the pinhole test, Scheiner's test, to illustrate accommodation and refraction. The National Institute of Health considers Scheiner one of the foremost scientists of the first half of the 17th century. The Sabatini book, which is the only printed work by the Italian architect, scene builder, and painter Niccolo Sabatini, describes the engineering of apparitions and scene changes. There are numerous woodcuts in the text, some of which you can see, which show stage drawings, including perspective views of backdrops of buildings and streets, stage machinery, such as lifting devices and light engineering, individual props, including a model of a ship, and various schematic representations. So before I go further, let me take a step back and give you a little background on this case. The National Library of Sweden is an agency of the Swedish state and has a collection of royal books that date back to the 1500s. For hundreds of years, the library's collection of books, maps, and manuscripts was treasured by the kings and queens of Sweden. Today, the library is a place for researchers and scholars, particularly in the humanities and the social sciences. The National Library, in many ways, contains the cultural memory of Sweden. The theft of pieces of a nation's memory and heritage creates holes in its intellectual soul. There is no repair for such holes without the recovery of what was taken. I'm proud that this office has been at the forefront of recovering what has been taken from many different nations' cultural histories, including Sweden today. In 2004, the library learned that over 50 rare or one-of-a-kind books had been stolen from its collection after one of its employees, Anders Burius, confessed to the thefts. After stealing the books, Burius consigned or sold them to Ketterer Kunst, an auction house in Germany. The Scheiner book and the Sabatini book were among the rare books that Burius stole and consigned or sold to Ketterer Kunst. In 1999, bookseller Jonathan Hill, who had no knowledge of the theft of the Scheiner book, purchased it from Ketterer Kunst. Mr. Hill subsequently sold the Scheiner book to Cornell University, which had no knowledge of the book's theft. In 2001, a New York rare book dealer, Richard Land, purchased the Sabatini book from Ketterer Kunst. Mr. Land likewise had no knowledge of the book's theft. Through the diligent investigation and efforts of Swedish authorities and the FBI, the Scheiner book and the Sabatini book were located. After Cornell University and Mr. Land, respectively, were contacted by the FBI about the theft of the books, they voluntarily agreed to return the books to the library. Our hope is that the continuing investigation will lead us to other books so that more and more items can be recovered. We also hope that the actions of Cornell University and Mr. Land in voluntarily returning these stolen books will prompt others to return antique books in their possession that were stolen from the library. I would like to thank those who made this recovery possible. First, I want to thank the FBI, represented here today by Special Agent in charge of the Criminal Division, Michael Harpster. I'd also like to thank Special Agent John Iannuzzi. This office has assisted with the recovery and return of several pieces of stolen artwork. Today's return of these two antique books to the National Library of Sweden marks the latest success story in our ongoing work to recover and return stolen art and antiquities to their rightful owners. In fact, tomorrow we will be hosting another repatriation ceremony to return a lost Basquiat painting. I also want to thank the folks from my office who helped to recover the books. Sharon Cohn-Levin, who's sitting here in the front, the former chief of the Money Laundering and Asset Forfeiture Unit, and Assistant United States Attorneys Christine Magdo and Sarah Paul. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge our guests today from the Consulate General of Sweden in New York. Now let me call to the podium Michael Harpster.
Thank you, Rich. These are the fun ones, guys. These are the ones we like to go to. We like to tell of our success and this cultural recreation and the ceremony that we're holding here today. Rich kind of went into the details about the case itself. I just like kind of talk really generally about what the FBI's mission in working with the U.S. Attorney's Office is to recover these artifacts and get them back to the rightful owners. The illicit trade of art and cultural antiquities is just one of many criminal categories the international criminal enterprises use and target. The FBI is committed to ultimately dismantling these groups and enterprises and charging individuals and recovering artifacts. We have had much success in recovering and returning national treasures in the past and artifacts to many foreign countries, not only allowing for a restoration of their heritage, but also at the same time strengthening the relationships we have with those countries through our partnerships. Furthermore, the investigating the theft and fraud of art and cultural pieces preserves the integrity and historical value of national treasures and classic works of art, many of which are priceless. And also, as Rich, I'd like to thank the dedicated FBI agents and the Major Theft Squad within the FBI who worked this case, especially Special Agent John Iannuzzi and Supervisory Special Agent Tracy Stump, who are also here today. I'd also like to thank Assistant U.S. Attorney Christine Magdo and Sarah E. Paul for their work on this. And also special thanks, as Richard said, to Cornell University and Richard Land for voluntarily returning the books to the rightful owners. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. So now I'll call Gunilla Herdenberg to the podium.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's fantastic to be here. Mr. Sharon Levin, Mr. Richard Sable, Mr. Michael Hofster, and you numerous colleagues that have been involved in this matter. On behalf of the Kingdom of Sweden and the international library community, I wish to extend to you today my profound gratitude for your combined efforts. Thanks to the swift and professional collaboration between American authorities and our legal liaison Herrick Feinstein, represented by Harold F. Spiegler, we are once again able to recover some of our lost treasures. We are most grateful for safe return of these lost books to Sweden, as they are brought home for safekeeping in the collection of our National Library. We may ensure that the general public of the international research community obtain access to the works for study in the future for many years to come. As we heard about the books, the first book, the Practica di Fabrica by Niccolo Sabatini, is printed in 1638. Is considered to be the first comprehensive volume devoted solely to a theatrical stage design. The work is expected to have been used as a reference tool at the Swedish court in the construction of a new palace in Stockholm in the 70s, as well as a handbook of sorts in the execution of official royal ceremonies, such as victory celebrations, theater performances, and funerals. The second book recovered is The Oculus by Christoph Scheiner, printed in 1619, which records experiments and observations of the physiological nature of the eye. It was an important work at the time, contributing to the further understanding of how common problems in eyesight may be corrected by artificial lenses. Not much is known of the early provenance of how the work was acquired into our collections, but the first mention of it in our collections catalogue dates back from 1695. I would like to thank Cornell, represented by David W. Carson. Your kindness toward the National Library, to citizens of Sweden, and to the international community is highly commendable. As Sweden's national librarian, I have a particular entitlement to honor those individuals who undertake extraordinary efforts to serve our National Library. At this time, I would like to extend a special thank to you, Sharon Cohen-Levin, and present to you today a diploma with the inscription in Latin, Societas Operis Patrimonium Fovet. Translated into English, this reads, Participation fosters heritage. Please, Sharon.
Thank you too. Thank you very much.
So, once again, I offer my sincere thanks to all who have contributed to the efforts which brought back these cultural treasures to the National Library of Sweden for the benefit of library users today and tomorrow. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. If there are any questions, we can take them. That gentleman is dead. So no. Yes. There are books, I believe, that are still missing. As we said, there are over 50 that were stolen. But as I mentioned, it's not clear where all those books are. I don't think we have any information that says that some were, but that we mentioned today.
Yes, I'm Jonathan Hill, a victim, and I'd like to ask Dr. Herdenberg 4 questions. One is,
Here, doctor.
the security of your library is so lax that these massive thefts occurred. Part 2, why were the thefts covered up for so many years before they were made known to the public? 3, why don't you apologize to the people who have suffered very considerable financial loss? And 4, what efforts will you make restitution to us?
The security wasn't that bad, but this was an inside, and it's hard. The security has become much better over these years after the theft. So this is what I can say. The security today is very high at the National Library of Sweden. I can't go down to the archives myself, for example. Sorry, next question.
Why were the thefts covered up for so many years before they were announced?
I don't think they were covered up at all.
Yes, they were. They only became widely known in 2013.
I like to have my assistant answer this question. Jackie.
The thefts were reported to Interpol and the police from the library, and it was for the police and Interpol to do whatever they could to investigate. And as far as the trafficking, so to speak, of the books, these thefts were discovered after they were sold at auction house or Kunst. So didn't know about these thefts when they were auctioned at Kunst.
So let me jump in for a second. Obviously, anyone who's been victimized, as has been Sweden, by the theft, and there's art stolen all over the world, including in the United States, almost on a daily basis. But anyone who's a victim can be in touch with our office and the FBI, and we can talk to them about whatever questions they have and what measures they have. But I think it's probably not quite the moment to go through a series of long questions about the history of the theft and what measures can be taken. So we'd be happy to address those with you, though. Are there any other?
I understand there's a fine art registry for stolen art. Is there such a registry for stolen antique books?
I don't know whether these. I don't know whether these books are registered. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know whether the answer is that all books and some books are not in the registry apparently, but so I don't know the answer to that question. But some books are registered, I think. Are there any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.